Hello, everyone. This is Kutsuo Academia. Today we're tackling a question that feels more urgent than ever. Why does it seem like we're living through a war on facts? We're going to dive deep into this growing trend of anti-science sentiment. So, first things first, what exactly are we talking about when we say anti-science? Well, at its core, it's about rejecting established scientific evidence and the very methods we use to find it. But believe me, it's way more than just a simple disagreement. All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to break this down into 4 key parts. First, we'll look at how this all plays out in the real world. Then, we'll dig into why trust seems to be slipping away. After that, we're turning the microscope on science itself, because it's got its own challenges. And finally, we'll look at what we can actually do about it.
Okay, let's jump right in. Section 1, the rise of anti-science. Where do we actually see this stuff popping up?
This isn't just some vague feeling of distrust. Oh no, it often takes the form of very specific, very powerful claims. I'm sure you've heard some of these before, right? What they all have in common is that they directly challenge a scientific consensus that's been built on literally decades of overwhelming evidence.
And let's be super clear about something. These are not just harmless opinions floating around the internet. They have real, actual impacts on our health and our society. And we are seeing those consequences play out right now.
I mean, just look at vaccines for a second. As trust has gone down in some communities, diseases that we thought were basically gone are making a terrifying comeback. This chart showing a spike in measles, that's a direct, measurable result of this decline in trust. It's cause and effect.
So, this all leads to the big question, right? Why? Why is this happening? What's behind this erosion of trust? Well, as we're about to see, the answer is complicated.
Now, you might think trust in science is just tanking everywhere, but the real story is a lot more interesting. A huge global survey covering 68 countries actually found that overall trust is still pretty high. So this isn't a story about everyone losing faith. It's about who is losing faith and why.
And this is where it gets really fascinating. That trust or lack of it often lines up with political views, but not in the way you might expect. In the Americas and Europe, you tend to see lower trust among people with right-leaning views. But then you look at parts of Asia and Africa and the whole thing flips. Lower trust is often found on the left. Wild, right?
Then you throw social media into the mix, and it's like pouring gasoline on a fire. The algorithms are literally designed to create these echo chambers. You start with an idea and bam, the algorithm just keeps feeding you more and more of the same. Your beliefs get stronger, and pretty soon, you're almost completely walled off from any other point of view.
But look, it's not all about politics and social media. Those are just the external pressures. To really get the full picture, science itself has to take a hard look in the mirror. So, we have to ask this tough question. Is the scientific community itself, in some way, part of the problem here? The truth is, science isn't some perfect, flawless thing. It operates under a ton of internal pressure. You've got the crazy competitive hunt for funding, which can lead to overhyping results. You've got sketchy journals publishing bad research. And then there's the reproducibility crisis. That's when other scientists can't get the same results, which, you can imagine, really shakes public confidence. Every one of these cracks gives ammunition to people who want to discredit the whole system.
And things get even messier when a few scientists, often discredited ones, actively team up with these communities. They show up in conspiracy documentaries and things like that, and it gives this stuff a false shine of credibility. It makes it almost impossible for the average person to tell what's real and what's not.
And for the credible scientists on the front lines, the consequences can be absolutely brutal. As the virologist Marion Koopmans points out, scientists are facing extreme online hate, serious threats, even lawsuits. It's gotten so bad that in 2024, UNESCO actually issued a global call to action to protect scientists.
Okay, so with all of that, what can we do? How do we start to rebuild that trust and push back against this trend? Is there a path forward?
Well, there's no single magic bullet, but a group of Nobel laureates has laid out a pretty solid 3-part plan. First, we've got to invest in science literacy, teaching people how to think critically. Second, scientists need to get out of the lab and actually talk to people. And third, we need to work together on a global scale to solve global problems.
And really what this all boils down to is that this is on all of us. No single group can fix this alone. It's a shared responsibility. It means scientists need to be better communicators. It means teachers need to teach critical thinking. It means policymakers need to actually listen. And it means all of us, as citizens, have a duty to seek out good information. And that kind of leaves us with this final thought to chew on. In an age where we are drowning in information, bridging this gap between science and society, well, it isn't just a job for scientists anymore. It really takes a conscious effort from every single one of us to listen, to ask questions, and to decide that pursuing knowledge together is something worth fighting for. Cusho Academia, please subscribe and like.